Amanda here from createyourfuture.co. So today we have Erika joining us. Hi, Erika.
Hi, Amanda. Hi, everybody.
So guys, we have a really exciting video. Today we're going to be talking about the law of assumption and living from the end. So just before we jump into it, guys, we're on TikTok now. I'll put our thingy for TikTok in the description below. And as well, as many of you guys out there want to ask me a question, please sign up and post it on the Patreon, and I do answer them during our YouTube live. So definitely go check that out. So welcome, Erika.
Thanks, Amanda. So yeah, I wanted to talk about a little bit about the law of assumption, right? And I really believe it's a universal law, just like the law of gravity, right? That's just how the universe works, and it works based on the assumptions that you have about people or situations, right? So for example, if someone's showing up in your reality and you don't like how they're showing up, all you have to do is change the assumptions that you might have about them that are negative, and then that person has to change. This is an analogy that works for me, right? For example, I don't know if you've ever had a person in your life that you think like, oh my gosh, this person, she's horrible, she's so mean, she's so nasty, right? But someone else thinks that that same person is an angel. I don't think that person has multiple personalities, right? But I'm just getting back the reflection that I have about her, that she's a bad person, and the other person is getting the reflection that they think she's an angel. So all I have to do is change my assumptions about that person, and I will see the changes in her, right?
Exactly. The law of assumption is really how we end up creating, because that moment we're creating for the next minute. So, one thing I've actually been using the law of assumption for, and I know this is something that's come up because people have asked this, how to deal with negative people. Okay, so how I deal with negative people is, I was actually chatting with somebody. I'll be moving here soon, and I was chatting with somebody, and they were telling me how that they've had, like, a bad experience with slow movers and and all this and all that. And I used that moment to go, okay, and I took in what they said, and I said, no, I'm gonna have good movers. I'm gonna have movers that are fast. Everything's gonna work out for me. So I used that moment to make the assumption that my experience was going to be different than that. You know what I mean? So, it's almost like a catalog, right? That we can choose to say, wow, you know what? You had a great experience. I intend to have the same. Or, oh, wow, you've had a bad experience. I'm going to assume that mine's actually going to be different and yours was a one-off. Do you know what I mean? To actually be able to create in those moments, right? Rather than agreeing and going down that road with the person and then creating that experience for me, because I would be assuming it's going to happen to me as well, right?
Right. Now, also the way that I see, for example, in a relationship, always assume the best of your SP, right? Of your Jerry. Always assume that they're kind, that they're sweet, that they're loving, that they're, I don't know, they're passionate, whatever it is that it's important for you in in a relationship and a partner. Assume that they have those qualities, right? Because you're going to benefit from those assumptions that are positive, right? But if you're thinking that your Jerry is a narcissist or rude, like, you're going to get that back too. So why would you ever do that, right? It's self-love. I really believe that assuming the best of someone, it's self-love. Then
totally, yeah.
And then on top of that, super important, what do you think that person's thinking about you? How do you think they're feeling towards you? How are they acting towards you, right? Never assume, oh, I don't think he cares about me. I don't think he's interested. I don't think he thinks I'm pretty. Why are you doing that, right? Or he never calls me. He never has time for me. Change the assumption and say, no, he's constantly contacting me. I'm super important in his life. I'm constantly in his mind. He thinks I'm the best thing ever that has ever happened to him, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, then on top of that, what are your assumptions about relationships in general, right? Relationships are easy. Love is abundant. The guys I meet are wonderful, right? Instead of holding on to stories like, oh, guys are jerks, or relationships are hard, or no one wants to commit. Get rid of those stories that you're telling yourself that are not benefiting you anymore, and create your own, right? To create that wonderful life that you deserve to have, right?
Exactly. So, if you're, say, in a friends with benefits relationship, assume that that's actually turning into a relationship, and that's where it's going to lead to. You know, if say, you know, you had a disagreement with your partner, assume that it's going to make your relationship stronger and that it needed to be come out to be dealt with. You know, if you have to say cancel something or reschedule, assume it's going to work out in the other person's benefit. Everyone's you pushed out, it will. Yeah, countless things, right? We constantly have assumptions about everything that we interact with in our reality. We constantly have assumptions that, you know, if we do something, this might happen. We always want to make sure that we have the assumption that anything that we choose to do is going to work out for the best interest of us and everybody else. Constantly, I'll reschedule an appointment and I'll make the assumption it'll work out. The person will be like, I was totally hoping we would do that. No, that totally works for me. And then I'm like, okay. So creating those assumptions is really, you know, is really the key to this, you know, is and assumptions that are positive and in your favor, and assume everything that you do is in other people's favor. You know, I used to have this bad thing of saying, oh, you know what? Oh, you know what? They're going to be so upset. Like, oh, I better not, you know, I was like, oh my goodness. I was assuming everybody was going to be upset at every move I made. And guess what? Everybody was, right? Then when I started assuming that everybody's okay with it and it always works out to everybody's best interest, all of a sudden, it does all of a sudden, you know? So, yeah.
Super important, right? You have to assume no matter what's happening in the 3D, that's opposing to that positive assumption, right?
Right.
You have to completely ignore it, because the moment that, for example, you assume, oh yeah, my SP loves me and adores me and he calls me all the time, right? You have to stay in that assumption until that assumption manifests. But if all of a sudden, like, yeah, but he actually hasn't talked to me in a week and I don't think he cares, boom, you start the feud, right? Creating from the assumption that he doesn't care about you or he doesn't reach out to you. So stay in that assumption of already having it until that assumption manifests. That's why, you know, the mental diet is super important. The affirmations are super important, right? To keep you constantly thinking positive instead of thinking negative, right?
Exactly. That's totally true. So let's talk now. Great. I'm going to backflip off of that into the next segue of living from the end and living from the end with your mental diet. So living from the end, it's not even just enough just to picture, you know, them eating dinner with you or being with you every day. It's about creating your intentions from the end that you already have what you want. Creating all of your thoughts from the end, all of your assumptions from the end of if you already have it. So if you already had the relationship that you wanted, would you be questioning why he likes you or if he likes you? No. Your statement would be like, he does want to be with me. He does love me. He loves me for this reason, right? So we want to create everything from the end of already having it. So, you know, like, let's talk about money for a second. If you had $1 million, would you have anxiety about that cable bill coming in? Absolutely not. Your thought would be, I have more than enough money to pay this bill. Okay, so when we're in the present moment interacting with our 3D reality, regardless of what it is, we have to keep our focus on what would my thoughts be if I already had what I wanted, right?
Absolutely. Now, some of the affirmations that you can use to put you in the state of already having it is like I think we talked about it before, right? Isn't it wonderful now that I am in this perfect loving relationship with my person, right? You're assuming you already have it. Or I've been using a lot of I am so happy and thankful now. And I really believe that gratitude is like, boom, here it is, more of that, right? Because but you're grateful about something that you're assuming you already have. So for example, I'm so happy and thankful now that my man constantly contacts me all the time. Or I'm so happy and thankful now that I have all this money in my bank account. I'm so happy and thankful now that, I don't know, that, you know, everyone is so nice to me everywhere I go, right?
Right. One thing actually you brought up that I just want to clarify with affirmations and aspirations, they call them, and the isn't it wonderful. So one comment I saw was that isn't it wonderful, you know, that Andrew loves me, is they're saying that's a question. It's not a question, it's a statement. The only question is, isn't it wonderful? So basically I'm creating that it's wonderful, and the statement is that Andrew loves me. Okay. So grammatically, it's not a question of Andrew loving me, it's a question of it being wonderful. It's wonderful. Andrew loves me. Isn't even a real word.
Right.
You can't
what does happen when you say isn't it wonderful? You're like, you already feel like, ooh,
you're calling it
what it is. Isn't it
Yeah. Now the difference between aspiration, okay, so I clarify this from a previous video, is not that like affirmations are wrong, okay, or bad. Do them if they help you. But how our brain works is if you say, why does Jerry love me? Okay. What ends up happening is if you've got a negative thought towards him loving you, you're not actually creating why he loves you. Okay. So you just by saying, why does Jerry love me, when you've got a whole story about him not wanting to be with you and being on his own and not wanting a relationship, saying why does he love me doesn't actually change and shift that, because what you need to do is you need to change all of the stories about why he's not loving you right now. Oh, he wants to be on his own. He only wants friends with benefits. He's young. He's immature. He wants to go live the Playboy life. All those stories have to change. And that question of asking why he loves you isn't actually touching any of that story and recreating Jerry. We need to recreate Jerry entirely. Okay, so that's why like affirmations or affirmations aren't as powerful as actually just sitting down and going, okay, look at Jerry loves me. He's ready for a relationship. He's ready to settle down. He wants a commitment. He has feelings too. He's sensitive, and actually stating and creating who he is. You only have 60,000 thoughts a day. Now, when we talk about questioning, it's a slippery slope to say, oh, I'm gonna, as formations, it's a slippery slope between questioning why something isn't happening and forming your intention in the form of a question. I mean, I don't see the point of adding that in there, questioning why do I have everything I want? Okay, so that doesn't quite get to that end result, right? But I mean, if it's a good transition for you to do, however, I mean, me personally, I would never actually recommend it, because you've got to shift that whole entire story. And, we want to get out of the habit of questioning, because questioning in a negative way is a block, right? Let's be, and we're creatures of habit. Let's get out of that habit to just stating that we have what we want. We're allowed to have what we want. We're good enough to have what we want. And we're comfortable saying, I have this.
Exactly. Now, I was also going to touch a little bit on, the feeling, right? Like I said, when I say, isn't it wonderful now? I just feel good, right? So I don't know. It's very different to say, you know what, my SP loves me. He 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 loves me. Instead of saying, isn't it wonderful that my SP loves me so much, right? Add the little bit of I don't know, magic or oomph, like. Well,
really? All you create is that feeling of wonderful. Okay, so you said wonderful, and that my SP loves me. So now your brain does not picture the isn't. It just pictures wonderful and your SP loving you. That's why you call it in. Yeah, no, it's amazing. But again, and just skip straight to he loves me. But if it feels better doing it that way, then it does. Yeah. So.
Absolutely. And I think super, 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 super important, right? Is really the belief about yourself of who you really are, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not this technique or that technique, right? Believe that your word is powerful. Your affirmations are powerful, right?
Well, exactly, exactly. And everything we do on here is, we want to steer people in the right direction. We always want to, help people. That's our goal, right? Mm-hmm. It's never to, to anything else, right? So, yeah.
We feel empowered and knowing that they can create that wonderful life that they deserve to have. Right?
Exactly. And we want to help you get there as fast as possible, right? I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty lazy. So I want the most efficient route to get there, because I really don't want to spend a whole lot of time figuring stuff out, like just tell me how to get there, give me a clear path, and let's get there, right? So,
right.
Yeah. So amazing, guys. So guess what? You know what? Live from the end in your present moment. So think and act as if you already have it through the law of assumption. Assume whatever shows up is happening in your favor to make what you want to happen. Assume that the people around you are already feeling the way that you want them to feel about you. And you do that in your thoughts, like for instance, I intended Andrew call me I don't know, 2 hours ago. He never did, but I just assumed he was busy because he's in court today, because everyone knows he's a lawyer, and he just messaged me now. Obviously he's on lunch break, right? So make those assumptions. Okay, I could have totally assumed that he was mad at me and didn't want to talk to me. That would suck. He would never. He worships ground I walk on. Who am I kidding?
That's why we have to be the queens and kings of positive assumptions, right?
Exactly, exactly. Well, thank you so much for being here today, Erika. You are amazing.
You're welcome, Amanda.
And guys, thank you for liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. You know what? We really, really appreciate you. And we do want you guys to be successful. And we intend that everybody gets an aha moment out of this video and they say, aha, I found something that can help get me closer to the goal that I'm getting to. So
Absolutely.
we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.
Bye.